Hey guys, my name is Toby and welcome back to another very exciting Photoshop tutorial where today we're going to be taking a look at the Nik Collection by Google, which is a set of third-party plugins that I normally wouldn't comment on because I like to make sure that these are accessible to everyone and you shouldn't have to pay for some external plugin. And the only reason I'm doing this one is because as of last week, Google turned around and made the Nik Collection, which is a very powerful suite of different plugins, completely free. And this is really big news because this used to cost $150, which I believe works out to be about £120, and now it's free. So you've got no excuse not to go and get this incredibly cool kind of suite of plugins to play around with yourself. And there's a whole load of different things in here that you can go ahead and use. But today we're just going to take a look at Analog Effects Pro. And if people would like to see kind of what some of these other ones do, please leave a comment and let me know what you want to see. But for now, we're going to go ahead and look at what Analog Effects Pro can do. So we're over here in Photoshop. And what we're going to do is, once you've installed the Nik Collection, you want to come up to Filter, and then all the way down here at the bottom you'll have a new bin called the Nik Collection, and in here is where all of the new plugins will live. So we're going to go ahead and click Analog Effects Pro 2, and it's just going to take a second or two to load up this plugin because it comes with a whole load of kind of grungy textures and like light leaks and these high resolution images that it has to prepare for you to mess around with. So in the plugin, we've got immediately a kind of slightly garish effect that's been applied to this image. But what you're going to see is on the left hand side we have a load of thumbnails for the different presets we have available. And on the right hand side we have the controls for the presets that we applied. So if we apply something like Classic Camera 7, it's going to take a second and it's going to apply a totally different look to our image, but it's all completely adjustable. So maybe we don't like the dirt and scratches kind of filter that it's applied over the top, so one of those high-res images, we can actually just turn that off. We can come into the film type and we can say, oh, actually maybe we want to go a bit warmer with it, and we'll do something like that. There's lots of different options. You can kind of play with every single one of these controls and it's really, really powerful. So if you want to see kind of a before and after, if you take this compare button and you click and hold, and then it's going to show you before and after. And there's loads and loads and loads of different looks that you can get. Now, you're not just limited to these 10 or so presets that are in here. If you click on where it says Classic Camera, it's going to pop out this menu. And if you look at all of these icons, you can kind of think of these as sort of groups of presets. So if we go to, let's say, the toy camera presets, these are going to be a series of presets designed to mimic that sort of toy camera look. So you've got all of your sort of dodgy focus planes, and it's added some color fringing in there, and there's loads and loads of cool ways of doing this. So this one, you've got a load of purple fringing around there. You can change all your fringing options to different colors, make it stand out more or less. Really powerful, really good way of kind of getting that toy camera effect. I mean, I've always wondered why it is that people want to take like £1,000 DSLR and then make it look like a £10 piece of plastic, but that's what people do, so it's all good. And you've even got some black and white ones which are quite cool. So you could use the Silver Effects Pro plugin that comes with this, or you could actually just try and do it in Analog Effects Pro. And if we go ahead and add this black and white image, that already looks pretty good, but you can come in here and maybe we want a bit more detail, maybe a bit less detail. There's lots of different ways of kind of doing this and playing around with it, and you can get some really, really cool looks just by using the presets. Now, if you're not big into your presets, what you can do is you can go up to this filter here, this menu again, and then where it says Tools, if you click any one of these, let's just click Basic Adjustments, you can now start building up your image from scratch using all of the tools available inside of this plugin. And if we come over to our basic adjustments, we can start to maybe bring up a bit of detail extraction, maybe add a bit of contrast, maybe a bit of color as well, just make it pop a little bit more. And that's looking pretty good. And again, we can do the compare, see sort of before and after. And then maybe we want to add something else. Now what you have to be careful of is if I were to just click one of these, just click the words, it would actually replace basic adjustments as our sort of starting point. So what you have to be able to do is go to something like, let's do lens distortion, and you have to click this little plus icon. And now that we've got our lens distortion, what we can do is we can kind of start to screw around with these. We can change sort of the chromatic shift and the defocus, and you can do all this good stuff. And yeah, it's got a lot of cool options for screwing around with them. You can make it really, really over the top if you want. And yeah, a lot of cool things you can do. So let's say we want to add something else. Let's say we want to add a bokeh effect. And we're going to come in here, and it's going to give us this cool little thing here. And this is probably one of my favorite effects that you can do inside of this. Actually, I'm now not liking the lens distortion. We can go ahead and just turn that off. So come back into our bokeh effect. And basically this little kind of tool that we've got here lets us do some really cool stuff. So just to illustrate what this does, I'm going to turn the strength up. And basically, anything in the center of this will remain unaffected. Anything in between the first circle and the second circle is going to gradually become more affected. So the effect will kind of go from 0 to 100. And then anything outside of this is going to be affected 100%. So that's obviously a little bit over the top, but we can bring this down to something like that, I guess. And basically what you're going to see is any of these little little dots here are going to be blown out into a sort of a false kind of bokeh effect, which is really, really cool. And it certainly beats sitting there and trying to fake doing bokeh with a paintbrush, which is what people have done in the past, including myself. And it's a really cool way of doing it very naturally, because it keeps the size, and it's, almost as if you did it for real. And you can even do cheesy stuff. So rather than just having a round circle, you can do things like your love heart bouquet, or stars of various different points. You can just have different shaped apertures if that's kind of your thing. But I think just for the cheese factor, we're going to go for a little bit of magic in our coffee. And we're going to have a star shape. We can kind of change, how pointy our stars are, but I think something like that is going to be pretty good. Maybe we can rotate them a little bit. Maybe bring the blur strength up just a nudge, and I think that's pretty cool. So now we're going to go ahead and hit OK. And it's just now going to basically save this out as a new layer. And there is a setting you can change in the plugin to kind of play around with this. But by default, anything in the Nik collection will get added to a new layer. So if you're working on a composite with multiple layers, it's basically going to take a copy of everything kind of flattened and then add it to a new layer like this. So it's just gone ahead and given us sort of almost a before and after. And, in some ways that's quite good, because what we might want to do, let's say, is if we add a layer mask, we can now come into this. I'm going to take the brush tool, just make sure I'm working with a nice soft brush. And then just with black, I'm just going to kind of paint the bottom of this down here out, because, I don't like the fact that the spoon was kind of going a little bit star-shaped. So if I just disable that, you can see just around here it's gone a little bit funny, but with the mask back in, that looks pretty good, I think. We could maybe do the same thing just up here around his hand. Just to make sure that this effect isn't going to be too sort of overpowering. Something like that, I think. And voila. So just very quickly, we've added this kind of slightly cool, maybe slightly cheesy kind of star effect to our image, and given it a totally different feel. And this is quite a subtle way, I think, to use this, but you can go really over the top with it. You can do all of your processing in this plugin, and it really is a powerful set of tools to have at your disposal. But I think that's going to do it for now. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Toby, and we'll see you next time.